रामानुजदयापात्रं ज्ञानवैराग्यभूषणं श्रीमद्वेङ्कटनाथार्यं वन्दे वेदान्तदेशिकं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। माता पिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वयभट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखरयोगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारं शक्तेः पौत्रम् अकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकतातं तपोनिधिं। व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। अचतुर्वदनोर्ब्रह्मा द्विबाहुरपरो हरिः अफाललोचनः शम्भुः भगवान् बादरायणः। पाराशर्यवचःसुधां सुमनसः दुग्धाब्धिमध्योद्धृतां संसाराग्निविदीपनव्यपगतप्राणात्मसञ्जीवनीं पूर्वाचार्यसुरक्षितां बहुमतिं व्याघातदूरस्थिताम् आनीतां तु निजाक्षरैः सुमनसः भौमाः पिबन्त्वन्वहम्। निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवत रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिकाः भुवि भावुकाः। सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावदिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनः उरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावत् भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे। हन्तभाग्यं जनानाम् अग्रे पश्यामि तेजो निबिडतरकला यावळी लोभनीयं पीयूषप्लावितोऽहं तदनु तदुतरे दिव्यकैशोरवेशं तारुण्यारम्भरम्यं परमसुखरसास्वाद रोमाञ्चिताङ्गैः आवीतं नरदाद्यैः विलसदुपनिषत्सुन्दरी मण्डलैश्च बाहुद्वन्द्वेन रत्नोज्ज्वलवलयभृता शोणपाणिप्रवाळेनोपाता वेणुनाळीं प्रसृतनखमयूकाङ्गुलीं सङ्गशारां कृत्वा वक्त्ररविन्दे सुमधुरविकसदरागमुद्भाव्यमानैः शब्दब्रह्मामृतैः त्वं शिशिरितभुवनैः सिञ्च मे कर्णवीथीं योगीन्द्राणां त्वदङ्गेष्वधिकसुमधुरं मुक्तिभाजां निवसो भक्तानां कामवर्षद्युतरुकिसलयं नाथ ते पादमूलं नित्यं चित्तस्थितं मे पवनपुरपते कृष्णा। कारुण्य सिंधो Krishna karunya sindho Krutva nisheshatapan pratishatu paramananda sandoha lakshmi Ajñātva te mahatvam yadiha nigaditam vishvanatha kshametaha Stotram chaitat sahasrottaram adhikataram tvat prasadaya bhuyat Vedha narayaniyam Shrutishu cha janusha stutyatta varnanena Sphitam leelavatarairitamida kurutam Ayurarogya saukyam Janaki kanta smaranam Gopika jeevana smaranam With the incessant, selfless anukampa, grace of Paramatma, we have been fortunate enough to experience an iota in the nectar of Srimad Bhagavata Mahapuranam. Bhagavatam has a paddhati of being delineated in a series of 7 days. It is called Saptaham. Srimad Ramayanam has a paddhati called Navaham. So it is Srimad Ramayana Navaham and Srimad Bhagavata Saptaham. If it is Narayaniyam, which is the essence, it is also a Saptaham. It is Shriman Narayaniya Saptaham. For Narayaniyam, it is Shriman. For Bhagavatam and Ramayanam, it is Srimad. For Mahabharatam, it is Shri. There is no discrimination as such. It is based on the word that follows. So, based on the first sound of the next word, we either use Shri, Shrimad or Shriman. These two works, especially Srimad Ramayanam and Srimad Bhagavatam, both Navaham and Saptaham, have the distinction of the duality in them. It is often said in Bharatiya Samskriti that when words are spoken of a child and of a parrot, they are to be believed. Because we often use the word parroting as well in English. So it is believed that parrot amongst the birds has the ability to grasp and repeat what is said. So much so that there is a mantapam also called a Kili Mantapam in Srirangam. So a child is also supposedly believed to speak only the truth. I don't know whether it's a truth or an assumption. Let's keep the child as the innocent creation of God, and what comes out of their mouth is truth. So the child and the parrot speak the truth. Srimad Ramayanam was taught by Valmiki to the sons of Rama, who were children, and they were the one who brought fame to the work by even speaking and singing of the Ramayanam in the presence of Rama. So Ramayanam was uttered by the children, Lava and Kusha. On the other hand, Bhagavatam was spoken by the son of Vyasa called Shuka Brahmam. He was a human, but he was called Shuka because he repeated what his father taught him. Shuka means a parrot. Shaku means a bird. In general, a bird is called a shaku. So if at all the outcome of events have to be determined based on the movement of birds, that Shastram was called Shakuna Shastram. Shakunam. Shuka is a parrot. Those of you who are adept in classical music will know. Muthuswami Dikshitar uses this एकानेकाक्षरि भुवनेश्वरि एकानन्दामृतझरि भास्वरि एकाग्रमनो लयकरि श्रीकरि एकाम्रेश गृहेश्वरि शङ्करि कञ्चदळयताक्षि कामाक्षि कमला मनोहरि त्रिपुरसुन्दरि कञ्चदळयताक्षि Raka Shashivadane. Raka means the full moon. Raka Shashivadane Suradane Rakshita Madane Ratna Sadane Shrikanchi Nivasane Surasane Shringara Shraya Mandahasane. So there Mama Shiva Panjara Shuki Pankaja Mukhi Guru Guharanjani Durita Bhanjani Niranjani Kancharalaya. Mama Shiva Panjara Shuki, the parrot within the cage. Pankaja Mukhi Guru Guharanjani Durita Bhanjani Niranjani. So all these are exercises to the tongue. Shuka. Shuka was the one who gave us Bhagavatam. The children and the parrot speak the truth. The children gave us Ramayanam. The parrot gave us Bhagavatam. One is a Navaham, the other is a Saptaham. And those of you who are used to consuming food in a traditional way. So a leaf is laid, and then in case you are a Dakshina Bharatiya, you will have rice. Now don't get into the rice varieties, brown, black. Let's assume it is rice for now. Let the calories increase, carbs increase. Now for now it's rice. Then you will have the first, which has lentils in it, vegetables in it. And post that, you will have something which is very, very thin in its composition, which is called as the saram. Saram is a rasam. Rasam is essence. So essence will always be thin. Then after that, what do? We stop eating. What do we do after rasam? You put payasam. Then after payasam, curd rice. Now payasam comes first and curd rice comes next. Srimad Ramayanam begins with payasam in Balakandam. Payasam came from the Agni Kundam through the Agni Purusha. Bhagavatam has Krishna consuming curd rice. Bibradvenum jatara pataya shringavetye chakakshe vame panau masrila kabalam. Masrila kabalam is curd rice balls. Quite surprising. When I was speaking in Delhi, it was a Bhagavata Saptaham. Some of them were amused. Sir, he grew up in Uttar Pradesh, you're talking curd rice. I said, I can't help it. Shukabrahmam says masrila kabalam. Then they immediately, they were playing devil's advocate. Do you mean to say that chapati didn't exist in the north of India then? Wheat was known because in Chamakam we say Goduma Chame. We speak of wheat. So wheat did exist. But rice was very prevalent. Curd rice was very much prevalent. That's why the word used by Shukabrahmam is Masrila Kabalam. Balls of curd rice was consumed by Krishna. So we have Payasam, curd rice, Navaham, Saptaham, children, parrot. This is how both these works of quintessential knowledge, esoteric knowledge go hand in hand. That said, where were we? Yesterday I spoke about, yesterday I spoke about Varaha Avataram. I also said there is one portion not found in Bhagavatam but is a part of Varaha Puranam where Varaha advises Bhumi Devi about the way that a Jivatma within the material body can still choose to get Moksham without having necessarily to think of the Lord in the last minute. There were 2 shlokas. Those 2 shlokas put together is called as Varaha Charama Shlokam. Sthite manasi susvasthe sharire satiyo naraha dhatu samye sthite smarta vishwarupam cha mam ajam tatastham riyamanam tu kashtapashana sannibham aham smarami madbhaktam nayami paramam gatim. These are the two verses. These two verses have a unique commentary called Rahasya Shikhamani by Vedanta Deshika of the 13th century. Now, after Sri Varaha Avataram and Varaha Charama Shlokam, I spoke about Kapila Avataram, Maharishihi, Kapilacharyaha, Kritagnaha, Medhini Patihi. So, this Kapilacharya tells his mother, what was Kapilacharya's mother's name? Devahuti. Kapilatanuriti tvam devahutyai nyagadihi. There, he talks about the exit of the Jivatma from the material body. Like how we speak about birth. This process of the Jivatma's exit has been spoken in detail in our Shastras. Now the Jivatma has to exit the body. How will the Jivatma look? Various calculations. Shatada, 10 power minus 6 is the size. It is the size of micro. The moment it exits the gross body, it acquires a subtle body called Sukshma Shariram. Then it has to go, it has to be guided by someone. Waze has to tell the way, right? Waze has to say, go straight, take left. Who will say? Now the Purva Janma Karma will say, the Upayam that it has sought, Brahma Vidya that it has sought will direct it. I spoke mildly about Brahmarandram yesterday. I spoke about the 101st Nadi. I spoke that there are 101 nadis. The 101st nadi is called Sushumna. Only if the Jivatma exits through the Sushumna nadi, it will not have rebirth. The first 100 nadis, if it chooses, Bay Area, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, Punarapi Jananam, next Janma, it will hear another Saptaham. If there is good fortune to that Jivatma, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Jananam, then it may go to Cuba. It may go to Sudan. That's a hot place now. It may go to Sudan. We don't know. So this Jivatma has to be guided. It has to choose two paths. One is called the northern path. The other one is called the southern path. The northern path is called the path guided by fire or archis. So this margam is called Archiradi Margam. When the Jivatma goes through the southern path, it is unclear. Visibility gets very low right during snow season. That is called Dhumadi Margam, path filled with smoke. So this is what the son tells the mother. Pitrusuraganaya dharmiko yogrihastha sacha nipatati kale dakshina dhopagami mainihitamakamam karmatu katpathartam kapilatanuriti devahutyai nyagadihi. Mother now understands, I wasted my time. My dear son, hope you all don't tell that line. We have wasted our time here. So she says, I wasted my time, now I'll find the way to Moksham. Now there is one portion, a very controversial bhagam in our Sanatana Dharma is called Dakshayajnam. This is full of curses and counter curses, full of violence, this bhagam. But Shuka Brahmam has placed it for a reason, so I can't leave that portion and go. Okay. Generally, I don't know, here I'm not quite aware of the education system. At least when I used to study in Bharata Desham, certain portions, if they are tough, we will check if there is a choice in that. So we will leave that. Now I can't leave like that here. So I will read out. Bhave Shilavatam Sreshthe Daksho Duhitrivatsalaha Vidvesha Makarot Kasmad Adrityatmajam Satim Kastam Chara Chara Gurum Nirvairam Shanta Vigraham Atma Ramam Katham Dveshti Jagato Daivatam Mahat. Now a question is asked. Bhava means Sharva, Bhava, Shambhu. These are all the Paryayavachaka Shabdam or the other names of Mahadeva or Rudramurti. So he is known to be Ashutoshi. Generally, Lord Shiva in all our Puranas is called Ashutoshi. Many friends from Maharashtra will have this name, Ashutosh. Ashutoshi means one who is very impressed and grants boons immediately. So, Lord Shiva is Ashutoshi, very, very benevolent towards his devotees. So the question is, Bhave Shilavatam Sreshthe. The question is, to that Bhava who is very benevolent, how did this enmity with him and that of Daksha exist? Is the question. So, Daksha's daughter, she was called Sati. Daksha had many daughters. All the stars were his daughters. So, Uttara Proshtapada, Anuradha, Shravanam, all our nakshatras, all his daughters were stars. So, they were married to Soma. And that Soma liked only Rohini. So, this father-in-law to Chandra, Soma, cursed his son-in-law. See, such a liberal society in those days. You can curse your son-in-law as well. Because of your spotless beauty, you seem to not pay heed to the advices what I give, Soma. So you shall have flaws or spots on you. Kalankam. So then he was told that he will develop leprosy. He'll become a leper. That is when Chandra goes to two places. One Sthala Puranam says he goes to Prabhasa Tirtham or Somnath. Another Puranam says he came to Chandra Pushkarini in Srirangam. He was cured. But even then, that curse will have its effect. That is why it is said that the moon waxes and wanes. Now there was another daughter to Daksha called Sati. She was often called Dakshayani. Dakshayani generally means the daughter of any daughter of Daksha is called Dakshayani. Even Vinata is called Dakshayani. So the Sati falls in love with Shiva and she marries. Father is not very impressed. He wanted some complete man, Raymond, like son-in-law, wearing jeans, t-shirt, jacket. Yashagnaha nirapatrapaha. Lord Shiva was very, very simple in dressing. So, Markatalochana, he starts abusing Shiva. So, after abusing, there is one place where there is an assembly of the Devas, some round table conference, some summit. In that, Shiva was there, Brahma was there, Daksha comes. Everybody stands except Brahma and Shiva. Now this father-in-law gets very upset. What kind of son-in-law I've got? And he curses. Ayam tu deva yajanam indropendra dibhirbhavaha sahabhagam nalabhatam devair devaganadhamaha. You shall not obtain your havir bhagam during havans. Whenever you perform a yajnam, the havir bhagam will not go to Rudra. That is why even today, while you take the nama of Rudramurti, there is one paddhati. If your priest, your purohita is well read, he would say, touch water. Whenever you take the name of Shiva, you have to touch water. Because Shiva is said to be living in Shmashana Bhumi, graveyard. So if you happen to go to a graveyard and come, you have to take bath. So that is why you have to touch water. Lot of subtle things when you deal with yajna. Now, this is the curse given to him. Then Nandi gets very upset. You have cursed my Lord Shiva. He curses. Buddhya parabhidinyanya vismritatmagatif pashu strikamaha sotvati taram daksho bastamukho chirat. You shall get the head of a goat. This is the curse. Now, Bhrigu gets angry. See, I told you, right? This is a very controversial bhagam. Full of curses and counter curses. Bhrigu says, since Nandi and his Ganas have cheered when Nandi cursed Daksha, the Ganas and the devotees further of Bhava or Shiva shall have practices which are contrary to the Vedic injunctions. That is why if Vedas say that you should not touch a kapalam, see, you cannot have skulls and all in your house. Correct. One sect of Shaivas, they settled along the graveyard, Smashana Bhumi, and they started acquiring these practices. And later Agamas came like Nakulisha and Pashupata, Kapalika, Kaumukha and so on. So if you see, in most universities here, if they have to give a lecture of Hinduism, they will forget all this Bhagavatam, Navaham, all this they will forget. They will put one photo of Aghori sitting in Varanasi. That is the face of Hinduism to the Western world. So they will be minimally dressed. They would have smeared their body with ashes. Now they will have hair which is totally matted. Some of them will be having a liquor bottle next to them. All this they will show and say, Hinduism at a glance. Poor me, I would be speaking on Bhagavatam for 7 days. All this won't feature there. So this is the shapam given by Bhrigu. Yesha eva hi lokanam shiva pantha sanatanaha yam purve chanu samstutyait pramanam janardanaha bhavavratadhara yecha tan samanuvrataha pakhanditaste bhavantu satshastra paripanthinaha. Full of curses, counter curses. Now, later to even further humiliate his son-in-law, he performs Vajapeye Nashtva Brihaspati Savena Yajeta. He performs one yagam in Haridwar. He invites everybody. But the invitation doesn't go to Rudra. He's blocked in his WhatsApp list. Now, in Kailasha, Manasarovar, the lower part of Tibet, Parvati is settled with her husband. Here it is Sati Devi, Dakshayani. So this Indrapatni, Shachi Devi, while going they could have kept quiet. They said, oh, you have not received the invitation? Check your WhatsApp once. Is your mobile data working well? Sati, it's your father who's doing the game. You have not got. You have such people in society even today. So Shachi Devi checks, no, for attending a yajnam, you don't need an invitation. See, nobody invites you. Please come to our temple. Then you'll check where is the invitation to the temple. Temple is open to all. You have to go and come. Similarly is an upanyasam. Right? If somebody says, no, I was not informed, who will come and inform house after house? You have to keep your ears and eyes open. What is happening around you? So she says, I don't need an invitation, and she leaves. Now all this, you will remember one movie scenes will keep coming before you. I don't have to give details about it. Now Sati goes there. She fights for the rights of her husband. She tells her father, this is not the right way, that you should humiliate my husband, your son-in-law, who's Bhava, Shiva. Father continues to humiliate. Finally, she sits in a yogic posture, and from her last finger toe, a yoga agni is generated, and that swallows her, that consumes her. So it is not essentially, we have seen, where she goes into the Agni Kundam and falls. This is not like the historic times that we do. There is a yoga agni. Then after that, again there is another Puranam which says that Shiva got immediately angry. He sends his Gana, one of the special Ganas called as Veerabhadra. Veerabhadra comes and fights. He cuts the head of, full crime scene. So Daksha's head is cut, then the head of a goat is attached. Then there are some rishis who lost their teeth and beard. So the beard from a goat is kept for one rishi, teeth is kept for some rishi. All this you read. Now all this happens, and finally, now sir, what is the purpose of this? Shuka Brahmam says, we have to understand the purpose, right? Vengeance, excess anger, all this will lead to such calamities in a family. If a person does not know how to rein his or her anger, there will be violence one way or the other. So one should know how to control one's tongue, one's hands, how to behave with people. All this we know. So what is the lesson? Dakshayagyam teaches us. See, they wanted to conduct auspicious events. The summit was a good one. Yagyam was a good one. All this was spoilt because of vendetta, prejudice, preconceived notion. So, now, since we have spoken about Dakshayagyam, let me conclude with one beautiful shloka of Shivananda Lahari on Shiva. Because a lot of things have happened. Let us conclude with something good, because Shiva Shabdam itself is Mangala Vachakam. Guhayam geheva bahirapi vadrishikhare jaleva vanhova vasatu vasate kimbada phalam sada yasyaivantakkaranamapi shambho tava pade sthitam chet yogosau sachata parama yogi sacha sukhi. So after this Dakshayagyam, yesterday we spoke about Dhruva Charitram. You remember? Yesterday around 7:15, 7:20 I spoke about Dhruva Charitram. Now in Dhruva Charitram, Yesterday I spoke about how this 4-year-old boy was ridiculed. Now this boy goes with the resolve and the determination to have a glimpse of the Lord. Now the beauty is, where do they gamble? Las Vegas. Las Vegas. Now if I imagine my planetary positions are good, my 7th and 8th house in my Jyotishya Shastram, in my Jatakam is clear. And I am having one good period of Shukra Dasha. So I go there. So one friend takes me to Las Vegas. They say, you're giving Saptaham. Come to Las Vegas. I go to Las Vegas. I gamble. I get lot of money. See, you can, in gambling, there are chances, there is a probability that you could turn a millionaire suddenly. Chances are there. Kerala is famous for lottery. So you can turn. But Jnanam, see, there is one place where if you touch this button, you will get all the 18,000 shlokas of Bhagavatam. Jnanam alone is not possible. You'll have to earn. You'll have to keep listening. I have to keep telling. After about 1,000 saptahams, we may know a few shlokas. That is how knowledge is. Knowledge has to be earned. It has to be fought. But for Dhruva, knowledge came like lottery. So when the Lord touched the boy with its Shankasparsham, immediately the boy started singing Stuti. So for him, knowledge came as lottery. That is when this boy sang. Now in Dhruva's lineage, came one king called Anga. This Anga had a wife called Sunita, and through the couple had a son called Vena. The most undesirable king of all the kings we have had in Sanatana Dharma. His presence was such a burden to the citizens, to the members of the society. They wanted to kill him. So the people got together and killed him. Now from Vena, during his dying process, it was facilitated, and then there was a son born called as Pruthu. This Pruthu had signs of Shankam and Chakram on his hands. When I say Shankam, Chakram, not properly. See, these marks on our palm, they determine certain Amsha-Avatarams. You know, there is one science based on these thumb imprints. It is called Nadi Jyotishyam, which came during the time of Rajaraja Chola. It is very famous in Vaidishwaran Kovil. Have you heard of Vaidishwaran Kovil? It is a famous temple for Lord Shiva, who is regarded as a medical practitioner. He is called Vaidyanatha Swami. And in that temple is one famous Sannidhi for Kartikeya. And through that Kartikeya's grace was born Muthuswami Dikshitar. So, and the goddess there, can anyone tell what is the name of the goddess? All of you are distinction students. Tayyal Nayaki, in Sanskritam, she is called Balambika. So, Muthuswami Dikshitar gets very emotional while describing this kshetram. Shri Vagbhava Kuta Jata Chaturveda Swarupinim Shringara Kamara Jodbhava Sakala Vishwa Vyapinim Devim Shakti Bijodbhava Matrukana Sharirinim Devanuta Bhavarogahara Vaidyapati Hridaya Viharinim Bhavaragataala Modini Bhaktabhishta Pradayini Sevaka Janapalana Guru Guha Rupa Muddu Kumara Jananim Bhajare Re Chitta Balambika. So in that kshetram, this Jyotishya Shastram of Nadi is seen. So looking at the palm of this boy, it was found that he had Shankam and Chakram. He was called Pruthu. But because of the ill deeds committed by his father Vena, Mother Nature started answering in weird ways. No proper rain. Every now and then tremors. there won't be proper food for the citizens. That is when Prithu Chakravarti requested Mother Earth, who comes in various forms. Cattle is very important. So through cattle, he started churning out different forms of wealth. From the cattle, you'll get milk, curd, A2 milk. And he got all of that. Since Mother Earth was used in the form of a cow and wealth was churned, here wealth is milk and its products, by Prithu, Mother Earth is called Prithvi. So in this lineage of Prithvi, kings came. Later, there was this daughter born who was a sister to Anaka Dundubi. Who is Anaka Dundubi? Vasudeva. Very good. Anaka Dundubi is Vasudeva. Vasudeva had a sister. She was called Pritha. So Prithu, Prithvi, Pritha. Pritha had 3 sons, Yudhishthira, Bhima and Arjuna. Since they were sons of Pritha, they were generally called Partha. Arjuna was very famous of the 3, so Partha became associated with his name. So Krishna became the Sarathi to Partha, so he is called Partha Sarathi. So Partha Sarathi has its root in the name Partha. Partha has the root in the name Pritha. Pritha has it in Prithvi. Prithvi has it in Prithu. Now this Prithu got different forms of wealth. Now this is Prithu Charitram. After Prithu Charitram, we come across Prachetas, 10 Prachetas. I'm going very fast because I have to cover 1,000 shlokas in every 5 minutes. 18,000 shlokas are there. So, Prachetas, they were 10 in number. They married one lady called Padmalochana. Sir, Draupadi is much better. This was 10:1, many to one function. Now, Swayambhuva Manu. You remember? Day 1 at about 8 o'clock, I spoke about Swayambhuva Manu. And again during Varahavatam, Swayambhuva Manu came. What was his wife's name? Shatarupa. They had 3 daughters, 2 sons. One son was Uttanapada. Uttanapada's son was Dhruva. From Dhruva's lineage, we had Prithu. Now we are going to go to the other son called Priyavrata. Now this Priyavrata had children, Agnidhra. And from Agnidhra was born a son called Nabhi. This Nabhi, along with his wife, performed a yajnam called Pragvaryam. And as a result of it, the Lord partially manifested. Partial manifestation means it is a Amshavataram, which means the Lord is not them. The Lord's unique Shakti will be with that person. For example, Parashurama Avataram is not a Purna Avataram. He is a Jivatma like us. Like any of us, he is one Jivatma. The Lord has chosen to implant one of his unique attributes called as Shakti within that person. So that is why you will see Parashurama getting defeated on and off. If it is the Lord himself, he cannot face defeat. So it is Parashurama. Balarama is also treated as an Amshavataram. Kapila is called Amshavataram. Vyasa is Amshavataram. Now this Nabhi and his wife were told that the Lord will partially manifest, and that boy who was born was called Rishabha. This Rishabha was very, very intelligent, very enlightened a soul. Right from his very young age, he was always engaged in social service. Na bhipriyayam athameru devyam tvam mamshato bhut Rishabha vidanaha aloka samanya guna prabhavaha prabhavita sesha jana pramodaha. Now this Rishabha became the king of a country called Ajanabhavarsham. Ajanabhavarsham did not receive rainfall because Indra was very jealous. Indra, as a character, he is like that. He'll steal horses, he will misbehave. Now here he did not give copious rainfall. Now using his yogic power, Rishabhanatha got rainfall. In those days, there were such things. You must have heard of a portion called Virata Parva in Sri Mahabharatam, that 1 year of incognito. It is a belief in Sanatana Dharma. If you recite or you delineate, give discourses on Virata Parva, you will get rains. See, we did that last year, you got? So, in fact, 200-250 years before, Muthuswami Dikshitar used Nadopasana to get rains. In one place, there was no rainfall for years together. People had no means to shift to another place. Using his Rudra Veena, he invoked the grace of Devi through a ragam called Amritavarshini. Shri Nandanadi Samrakshini Shri Guru Guha Janani Chidrupini Ananda Amruta Kashini Amritavarshini. So he got rainfall. Now Indra got extremely happy. He said, this man should become my son-in-law. And he got his daughter Jayanti married to Rishabhanatha. So many names suddenly you are telling today how to remember. That's why note is very important. Rishabhanatha and Jayanti married. Now they had 100 sons. Sir, 100 sons. Is it possible? Even I used to wonder when I used to read Mahabharatams. I read a year back, you can check in Google. One person in Sudan and one person in Rwanda. They have 348 children each. So this is believable, 100. So the first son was called Bharata. Remaining sons, we don't have the names. Now, this Rishabha gave the administrative rights and responsibility to Bharata and left the kingdom. This Rishabha travelled from Uttar Pradesh to Bihar, which is Magadham. From there he went to Gujarat. From Gujarat he became an Avadhuta and came to the south of India. Avadhuta generally means they will not wear too much of clothes. For them, nature is their clothing. Now he went on like an Avadhuta sannyasi and started preaching some unique ideals. This person was regarded as a guru by certain small sect of people in those days. Those people were called Shramanas. They regarded him as their guru. This person became the first guru of that matam called Jeenam. The first guru was Rishabhanatha. He was a Tirthankara for them. Then you have those 24th Tirthankara called as Mahavira. And sir, you are telling Rishabhanatha is Vishnu's avataram. Do Jainas regard him as an avatar of Vishnu? Yes. If you go to Mount Abu, have you heard of Mount Abu? Mount Abu was constructed between the 11th and the 14th century. You have got 5 temples there. You have got one temple for Rishabhanatha. Go check. In the chest, any Rishabhanatha, he will have Kaustubam in the center and Srivatsam. But they have a different philosophy because Jaina Matam in its philosophy doesn't accept Vedas. I'm not getting too much into Jaina Matam because today we are helped by Jain food. Right. Again, people get confused. Sir, Jain food, they don't eat below the ground. So are Hindus like that? No. We are allowed to have ginger and all of that. For us, it is not whether above the ground or below the ground. It should not give us Rajasic and Tamasic Gunam. That's all. Patiently for 2.5 hours, you have to sit and listen. You should not get angry with me in the middle. That feeling will not come if you have Hindu Sattvic food. Okay, now, this Rishabhanatha went to different places. Let's come back to Rishabhanatha. He came to the south and he lived the life like that of a python. He would not move out of his place. He would live with whatever little food he had. And then finally he got killed in a forest fire. In which forest? In the forest fire of a mountain called Kutakachalam. This Kutakachalam is called Coorg today. So that is why Jainism became very popular in Karnataka. It was so widespread that 1000 years back, Bhagavad Ramanuja had a tough time dealing with the Jainas. Now this Rishabhanatha, in our Purana, it talks only about one wife called Jayanti. There was another wife. What Jaina Puranas say. And through that wife, he had a son called Bahubali. Sir? Ain't sir idi? Prabhas Gara? No, this Bahubali is the original Bahubali. So he performed tapas through a portion called Kayot Sargam. I'm giving you all this extra information, you can just check. Now this Bahubali performed a unique yogic posture called Kayot Sargam, and later he was referred by another name called Gomatha. So that is why in Karnataka you have a place called Shravana Belagola for Gomateshwara. Okay. Shayuvratam Gomrigakakacharyam Chiram Charannapya Param Swarupam Davahritanga Kutaka Chaletvam Tapan Mamapakuru Vatanatha, says Bhattadri. Now let's go back to Rishabhanatha's sons. The first son was called? Now we have 4 Bharatas in Sanatana Dharma. First Bharata is this Bharata, son of Rishabhanatha. Second, we have Dushyanta and Shakuntala's son, Daushyanti. He is called in Shatapatha Brahmanam. Shatapatha Brahmanam is an integral part of Shukla Yajurveda. So he is called Daushyanti. Daushyanti means the son of Dushyanta. His name is Bharata. So Rishabhanatha's son Bharata, Dushyanta's son Bharata. Third is Rama's brother Bharata. Fourth is Natya Shastra Bharata Muni. Bhavaragataala Mityeva Bharata Muni. We have got 4 Bharatas. Now our Desham is called Bharata Desham. People often say, because of Dushyanta's son it is called Bharata. No. Because of the Bharata whom we are going to deal with, it is called Bharata. How do we know that? Vishnu Puranam states because of him it is called Bharatam. Now who is this Bharata? Son of Rishabhanatha. He was made the king. But he was not very much interested in the material pleasures, and he wanted to give away the reins of his kingdom to his son, and he left and went to the forest. After going to the forest, he developed a jata. You keep walking through the country, either you develop a jata or a beard. So he had jata. But if you have long hair, you don't cut. See, Rama for 14 years in the forest did not shave. Remember that. Arun Govil, like Gillette advertisement, he shaved. N.T. Ramarao Garu, Kaliyuga Pratyaksha Ramudu, he also shaved. But as per Ramayanam, Rama did not shave. He had a huge jata and beard. And as soon, so to even imagine Rama like that, it will take time. Because the process of learning is tough. Process of unlearning what we have learned wrongly is tougher. Right? So Rama had a huge beard. After he comes back to Ayodhya after 14 years, there is a shlokam, you can go and check in Yuddha Kandam, last sargam. Bharata arranges a barber, Shmashruvardhanaha. There is a shlokam. Shmashruvardhanaha means barber. The barber comes and first cleans Rama, shaves, and then takes him to the mandapam. So you have to develop jata. But if you keep having so much of hair, the hair will fly. So, I don't know, we had one brand called Set Wet. What is the brand here? I don't know. If you put that, it won't fly. So, the milk of the banyan tree called Nyagroda Kshiram used to be used. And then if you apply that, the hair won't fly. Now, this Bharata went into the forest and he was practicing Jnana Yogam, Karma Yogam very sincerely. As this Bharata was practicing by the banks of river Gantaki in Shalagrama Kshetram in Muktinath, one day he saw a pregnant doe being chased by a lion. Now as this, out of fear, this doe was jumping, its belly hit on a rock and immediately the water broke and the little one came out. But the mother went, she was worried about the lion and she went away. Now people immediately they lost. What happened to her later? I don't know. So that lion went behind her. Now let's come to this little baby deer. This baby deer, which was helplessly floating on the leaf, immediately was taken by Bharata. Bharata was doing proper austerities. Now he spent some time, took that little one and kept it next to him. Now, next day it will get hungry. Then he bought some milk, some Avin or Nandini, somewhere he got, put that in a bottle and started feeding this. Now, later it will ask for some solid food, Cerelac or something. So he gave that. Slowly, his 24 hours dhyanam came to 16 to 10 to 5 to 4 to 3. He became like us. So there was no time left for dhyanam. He was always thinking about that deer. This deer became much elder and then went into its own pack and started going with its friends. Night out, sleepover, all that it went. Now this Bharata was thinking about the deer, and it was his last minutes in his life. As he was thinking about the deer, the Jivatma parted from his body. So what he became? Deer. So we know the formula so well. Now this deer was born, and it was in the Kalanjara Parvatam in Uttar Pradesh. But this deer was unlike the other deers of its own community. It was very, very aloof from the others and used to be in a very pensive, meditative mood. It took a long journey to Shalagrama Kshetram and went to the same place where originally in its previous Janma as Bharata it was stationed. Now it kept thinking about meditation, dhyanam, and again from the deer's body the Jivatma left. And it landed up in the house of Vedic scholars. Now this boy who was born was very indifferent to the worldly pleasures. So much so that people thought he was a lunatic. So they called him as insentient as an object. So he was called Jada. Since he was Bharata in 2 Janmas before, this Jada and Bharata got attached, he was called Jada Bharata. Now, let us see what happens to this Jada Bharata. So, this Jada Bharata's life is very unique. How was he able to remember his previous Janmas? This is where the secret comes. 1 in 1,000 or 10,000 of the birds that we see around us can remember vaguely their previous Janma. I don't remember. I don't know how many of you remember. 1 out of 10,000, whether that 10,000 is here, we don't know. That one in Shastram is called Jati Smaraha. Remember this word. Vishnu Puranam states, and in our commentaries we get that name, Jati Smaraha. I think there are also books about, vaguely talking about these memories of the previous Janmas by Dr. Wees, correct? One world, many masters, all that talks about it. Now this Jada Bharata was so indifferent, the Upasakas of Kali, they saw he was quite well built. You know, some people, they eat very well, but they will be thin. If I look at somebody eating, I become fat. I don't have to eat. So this Jada Bharata was like that. That way I have some commonality with Jada Bharata. So this Jada Bharata was very well built. Generally in Bharat Desham, you should never say a person is fat. You should say he is prosperous. He's got Mahalakshmi's grace. Now this Jada Bharata was pulled by the Kali Bhaktas. They were all like cannibals. They will kill people. And he was taken to the cave. Before Kali Devi he was placed. Now before Kali Devi was placed, he was about to be killed. Again this person was indifferent. Whether you kill me, don't kill me, I'm not bothered. Kali Devi came. She came and she said, I will kill you all. And she said, this man is a very good man, very learned. Don't give me such bali. And she protected Jada Bharata. Now Jada Bharata again was released. While he was walking in the forest, a group of men said, hey, he looks quite hefty, bring him. He was asked to be one of the lifting laborers of a palanquin. This palanquin or a shibika was of a king called Rahuguna Maharaja of Sindhu Sauvira country. Sindhu Sauvira. Sindhu means around the region of Karachi. That's called Sindh Pradesham. We have our national anthem. Sindh, Gujarat. Sindh is not with us. Still we are singing. That has gone to Pakistan. Now the Sindh, people who came from Sindh were Sindhis. So this Karachi and place around it is Sindh. And that was one of the places where horses were generally trained. That is why horses that come from Sindh region are very well trained. In wars, they used to import horses from Sindh. Horses are hence called Saindhavam. And another place where horses used to come from was the upper part of Pakistan and some of the upper parts of Afghanistan. So this region was ruled by kings who used to train horses and export. Their major economy, GDP, was through exporting horses. So they had a title called Ashwapati. Kaikeyi's father was called Ashwapati. So that is why when Bharata goes in Ayodhya Kandam, 1600 horses are given. There is one shlokam in Ayodhya Kandam. Ashwa. So this Shwa Aksharam is not there in Persian language. That is why Shwa became Fa. Ashwa became Afgha. So these are the regions where the horses come from. So from Sindhu Sauvira country came this king called Rahuguna Maharaja. He wanted to go to Kapila Ashramam to get some of his questions answered. So he sat in the palanquin. The person who was supposed to carry on the right side had taken casual leave. So they brought this Jada Bharata. Now while they were walking, Jada Bharata saw ants going here and there. So he did not want to stamp on those ants. So he used to jump. He was not bothered, concerned whether how the Shibika will be. Now Rahuguna Maharaja had 6.9 Richter scale earthquake. Why is this shaking? He checked. He saw this Jada Bharata doing this. He asked, Jada Bharata, why are you doing such acts? Are you mad? You seem to be well built. You're quite well built. You're suffering from good health. Huh? You're good. What has happened to you? That is when this Jada Bharata says, I am neither fat nor thin. I am not. So he gives all these answers. I'm neither fat, neither am I thin, neither am I happy, neither am I sad. Now this Rahuguna Maharaja thinks he is the right person to answer my questions. I don't have to go to Kapila Ashramam. That is when Jada Bharata talks about Atma Jnanam. He tells Atma can neither be cut, it cannot be divided and so on. And then he gets Jnanam. So this is called as Rahuguna Jada Bharata Samvadam. Very important in Vedanta philosophy. Whenever you all listen to Gita lectures, you will all be reminded of this particular. This is a very important portion. Now, I have to cover before Nrisimha Avataram, there is one more portion, then I will go to Nrisimha Avataram. In Sanatana Dharma, there are two words, Nama and Nami. Nama means the name. Nami means the one who owns that name. So, what protects a devotee? All our acharyas have done a very good research and found out that it is generally the name of the Lord that protects more than the Lord. Anayu karadere, anayu karadare, adimula bandante, ajamilanu karadare, narayana bandante. ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ದ್ರೌಪದಿ ಕರೆದರೆ ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ದ್ರೌಪದಿ ಕರೆದರೆ ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣ ಬಂದಂತೆ ನಿನ್ನ ದಾಸನ ದಾಸನು ನಾನು ಕರೆದರೆ ಎನ್ನ ಪಾಲಿಸಬೇಕು ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲ. So there was one person called as Ajamila. This Ajamila had no belief in Shastra. He had married, he had many children. Fancy names he used to give. The last name, Nama, because everybody wants to give unique name to their children. Whether the children will be unique or not, name has to be unique. Right? I will get minimum 1 or 2 mails every day. We have a child, Swami, please give a name. If I suggest 1 or 2 names, they won't accept naturally. No. We already have one Srinivasan in our family. We already have 2 Parthasarathis in our family. So what if there is another Srinivasa? Because if you are not a great Srinivasa, Ashattichi Manjulva Tamil. So you will get prefixes. But they want some unique names. One house I went, the boy was called Kim. They said, this is my grandson, his name is Kim. I didn't say anything because I had to stay in their house. So next day I had lectures on Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam. That is when the Lord reminded me, don't feel so arrogant. Kim is my name. Eko naikasava ka Kim. Kim is the name of the Lord. Saha is the name of the Lord. Ekaha is the name of the Lord. But we generally do confusing names we don't want. Then I suggested one name to when they insisted you have to give. I said Sarva Praharana Yudha. Give that name. You want a unique name. That is the 1000th name. Devaki Nandana Srashta Kshitishaha Papanashanaha Shankhabrin Nandaki Chakri Sharanga Dhanva Gadadharaha Rathangapanihi Akshobhyaha Sarva Praharana Yudhaha. They stopped writing to me. Now, this Ajamila had a last son. He did not believe in Shastram, fancy names. Last son was called as Narayana. Ajamila was not taking good care of his health. HbA1c was 10.5. He was not bothered about his health. Every day he will have one sweet, everything. Finally, on his deathbed, he wanted to see his last son. Generally, in those days when there used to be large families, 4 sons, 3 daughters, more than half a dozen. So parents will generally like the last child because that was the one that brought an end to the production. And the name will also be, commemorating that. Mangalam. Pavamana sutudu patu padara vindamula nama. So the child will be so young that actually that lady's grandchild will be elder to that child. So this Ajamila called Narayana and his Jivatma left from his body. Now going to the Sukshma Shariram, Yamadeva came along with his Dutas, Pashahastam. So Yamadutas came with Pasham. Pasham means rope. So it's like a noose. They will tie and pull. So Yama Bhattas came with the Pasham and they pulled Ajamila. Ajamila knew he completely deserved this. That is when he saw 2 extremely handsome people with Shankam and Chakram. Because in Vaikuntham, everybody will look like the Lord. Sarupyam. You attain identity. That is why the Dwarapalakas of Bhagavat Sannidhi will look like Vishnu. They will also have Shankam, Chakram. The only difference is they will have canine teeth, Damshtra. The Lord will have proper teeth. He has gone to a dentist. Unmila Danta Panktihi. And then the Lord will have Srivatsa Mahalakshmi, Dwarapalakas will not have. Now these people said, no, he has to come to Vaikuntham. Now there was a tug of war whether he has to go to Yamalokam or Vishnu Lokam. Ajamila was confused. He told the Vishnu Duta, see, I am very sure I have not done even one punyam. On what basis are you calling me? That is when the Vishnu Duta said, see, you uttered the name Narayana. Oh, sorry, sir, that is not that Narayan. That is my last child Narayan. No, but in our account we have noted that you have uttered the name of the Lord. I didn't mean. It is okay, but still we have taken it down. So what does this incident prove? This Sambhavam, Ajamilopakyanam says, even without our knowledge, if we utter the name of the Lord, it has punyam. Why I am telling you this is, many people will have this question, sir, I don't know the meaning of the shlokas, I am saying, what do I do? It doesn't matter much. To some extent it matters because when you know the meaning of something and then recite, there is always a better experience, you love it more. There is no doubt. But we are the makers of our own destiny. We chose not to learn the language. We were not taught the language. We are not taking efforts to learn the language. We don't know Sanskritam. Valmiki didn't give works in English. You see, they are mutually exclusive now. There is no commonality at all. Had Vyasa and Valmiki known our problem, they would have immediately given us verses in English. Oh, the one with moon-like countenance with eyes like the petals of a newly blossomed lotus, with the nose of a sesame flower, with lips that are akin to the corals, and the teeth that are arranged in both the rows that look like the stars of the constellation, with the corn-shaped neck and the broad chest and the resplendent gem, with a thin hip, with a nabi. They didn't know about our position. So, Shantakaram, Bhujagashayanam, Padmanabham, Suresham, Vishwadaram, Gagana Sadrisham, they have given it in their language. And we don't know their language. Now, if Alvars have sung in Tamil, we don't know Tamil. So, there is a problem in every language. What do? So, that is when Shastram tells, even without knowing the meaning, if you recite, there is a certain amount of value to it. Like how, whether we believe in the pentavalent vaccine or not. When pentavalent vaccine is given, it does its job. I don't need to have a detailed knowledge of the recombinant DNA technology involved in it. How a strain is taken and then it is taken to a petri dish and then it is cultured and then brought back and then it is attenuated and then given as a... I don't need to know all of this. Will the vaccine ask, do you know about me? Then only I will work for you. We don't. It will act. But if we know of it, we will have better knowledge. That's all. Now this Ajamila Upakhyanam talks about that. After Ajamila Upakhyanam, see, 12 cantos in Srimad Bhagavatam. We have completed 6 cantos. Roughly, we have completed. Now we are going to the 7th canto, Saptama Skandam. This is where Nrisimha Avataram begins. Now, Parikshit asks a question. See, every now and then Parikshit will keep asking questions. Samah priya suhrid brahman bhutanam bhagavan swayam indrasyarthe katam daityan abadhid vishamo yatha. Hey, Shuka Brahman, you have told me that my grandfather's friend, who is his grandfather? Arjun, action king. Who is Arjun's friend? Krishna. So my grandfather's friend has said in Bhagavad Gita, Shuka Brahma asks, Parikshit asks, Sama Priya Suhid Brahman. God treats everyone equally. Right? Whether you are from Scotland, Iceland, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran. Technically in Vedanta, that is the answer. See, in Vedanta, we do not distinguish the ability to get moksham based on race, orientation, caste, religion, nothing. As much as a Jivatma housed in the Shariram of a Scotland citizen has the same right a person who lives in Saudi Arabia has, the same right a person in Australia has, the same right as what Seshachari Mama in Ayodhya Mandapam of Vismambalam has. So Seshachari Mama is nowhere greater to the other Jivatmas. Remember that. But this science and Shastram of looking into the Lord, seeing the Lord's grace, is largely seen in Sanatana Dharma. That's all. So just by listening to Bhagavatam, you cannot say, see, you Scottish citizen, you are not entitled for moksha. Look at me. We can't do that. Technically, we can't do. So, many other Western religions have this concept of if you come to my religion, you will be granted. That we can't do technically in Sanatana Dharma, though. There is Garvapsi and all of that. Technically, you cannot do that. Because every Jivatma is that of Paramatma. Whether it is in the body of Seshachari, Subramanyam, Munnuswami, Hussain, John, anybody, they all belong to Paramatma. That said, Shuka Brahman is asked by Parikshit, Samapriya Suhrid Brahman. See, my grandfather's friend Krishna says, I treat everyone equally. In that case, I have also heard Shuka Brahman that he was very benevolent towards Prahlada and very ferocious with Hiranyakashipu. When both are his children, how can he choose to act very ferociously with one and very soft with the other? Isn't this contrary to what he has explained and narrated in Gita? Samapriya Suhrid Brahman. Now Shuka Brahmam is asked by whom? Parikshit. Shuka Brahmam's grandfather. Who is Shuka Brahmam's grandfather? Parashara was asked by his student Maitreya another question of this type. Tasya prabhavamatulam vishnor bhakti mato mune shrotumichhami yastasyai charitam deeptate jasaha. I wish to listen to the life history of one of the greatest devotees Sanatana Dharma has seen. Talk about Prahlada. That was the question there. Here the question is, Samavpriya Suhrit Brahman. Why have they done this? Now, remember, Parikshit is asking this to Shuka Brahmam. Now, Shuka Brahmam doesn't give a direct answer. Puranas are like that. That is the difference between Itihasam and Puranam. Now, Shuka Brahmam says, very good question. First of all, when somebody asks a question, you have to first tell them, your question is very good. Then they'll feel very happy. They won't even bother to listen to the answer that you give. Oh, he said I have asked a very good question. They will be in that happiness. Then you can give whatever answer you want. So, these interviews, they will ask some irrelevant questions. You have to say, you've asked such a very good question, is it? Even they'll be doubtful. So, here, Shuka Brahmam says, see, the same question, Parikshit. Once, your grandfather's eldest brother asked. Who is eldest brother? Yudhishthir. Now, you all know in Sri Mahabharatam, Yudhishthira and his brothers were asked to go to a palace built of inflammable materials called Lakshagraham. Varanavartam, they went there and it was burnt, but Vidura saved. Prajnaha, Prajnaparala Prajnaha is a shlokam in Sri Mahabharatam. Somehow they escaped, they went to a village called Ekachakra and then they landed in Kampilyam and then the Swayamvaram Arjuna participated and finally Draupadi was brought home and then she had to marry the five and then Krishna comes and says it's high time you reveal your identity. That is when they go back to Hastinapuram. Dhritarashtra is extremely upset that these five have managed to survive. But he has no other this thing. He says, I welcome the sons of my dear brother Pandavas, come here. Okay, then after that, Bhishma says it is high time that you do Vibhajanam. You divide the land and give it to them. Because your sons and their sons of Pandu can't coexist. Your children are absolutely against organic, good relationship with others. Your sons are like that, Dhritarashtra, just like you. So you better give one Rajyam. That is when intelligently this Shakuni comes and says, see, Mahabharatam is a beautiful grantham. You will know how mind games work. So this Shakuni comes and says, they should get a very good share of land. Please give them Khandava Prastham. Khandava Prastham was the most infertile, useless land. But it was a large portion. Now Khandava Prastham was given. Then they found full of infested with thorns and snakes. That is when Krishna comes and says, don't worry, Arjuna and I will go, and they do Khandava Vana Dahanam. And Takshaka escapes from it. There is a huge science. This Takshaka will later come in Karna Parva. Okay. Now, as he escapes and this region is given to, it is outsourced to architects. Maya constructs a beautiful city. And for that city, newly constructed, Indra is the one who is appointed. So Indra is the politician of those days. See, since I have done, you give my name. So Khandava Prastha becomes Indra Prastha. Now this Indra Prastha has a Rajasuya Yajnam. Because if you are a king, to call yourself a monarch, you have to win the surrounding regions, the kings, either through sheer balam or through alliances. That is when Jarasandha Vadham happens and all of that happens. And finally, Rajasuya Yajnam is conducted. In that Rajasuya Yajnam, everybody from Hastinapuram comes except Dhritarashtra and Kunti and Gandhari. In that Rajasuya Yajnam, Krishna he's close with Pandavas. He says, I will do one job. Give me one job. Now we have event management companies for marriages. Correct? About 40, 50 years back, we used to have marriages where the parents would themselves go and procure the required cooking materials, and they would engage one or two cooks and cook. That is all they could manage with the minimum economic status that they were in. Slowly in the last 25 years, we had one person called contractor. Except Mangalya Dharanam, he will do everything else. He will send two mommies along, and she will have that harati in 7-Up bottle, and they'll put holes in it. You say, Mommy, harati, she'll press and she'll get that harati. Now we have elevated ourselves. Bhuhu, bhuvaha, suvaha. We have gone to the third lokam. It is called event management. So in event management, they will arrange for about 4 or 5 young women. They will be given the same uniform. And they will be standing in the entrance. Namaskaram, please come. I went in one marriage, I was confused. I have never seen that lady before. So I said, Madam, I've never seen you before. Even I have not seen you before. They have paid me 2,000 rupees and they have said, just say welcome to everyone, keep quiet and get inside. So this was outsourced. Now, Krishna said, I will take up a job. I will take up a job of washing the feet of devotees. Whoever comes to your Rajasuya, Krishna did that. And in that Sabha Mantapam, when the Pattabhishekam was happening for Yudhishthira, that is when there was a question, Arghya Puja has to be done to whom? First puja has to be done to whom? Bhishma Acharya was an overlived person. So everybody said Bhishma, Bhishma, Bhishma. And when they went to Bhishma, Bhishma said, I will not take up this puja because age alone doesn't give respect to a person. It is the presence, the knowledge in him. And Krishna is there like this shining sun. Who else can take it? Do puja to Krishna. Pandavas were naturally very happy. If it is Krishna, they will do anything. Sahadeva came, and as he started doing the puja, Shishupala stood. He said to this thief, he has danced in the middle of the night with all women one night, which Dushyant will talk about on day 6. This man, does he command respect? And he started abusing Krishna. Even Duryodhana felt very embarrassed upon listening. You see how Duryodhana felt. See, Krishna, they should not abuse Krishna so much. He is not that bad. Even Shakuni felt bad. So, that abusive this Shishupala was. Balarama got angry. Krishna, you mannerless man. This man is abusing you and you're smiling, you're counting something. Krishna said, no, I have promised his mother 100 abuses I'll take. 101st abuse, by the time he uttered, his head was loitering in the air. Body was dancing like that katapa. And it fell. Where Chakra had cut the head of Shishupala. There is a beautiful work in Sanskritam by a great Kavi called Magha. It is called Shishupala Vadham. Nipidayaksa Kshitirakshina Kata. No, that is Naishadham. Beautiful work. You should read Sanskrit literature to understand how deep our poets have worked. It's called Shishupala Vadham. Now let me get back here. Now his body fell. Imagine you're doing a housewarming ceremony. There is one dead body. Police come and put one chalk around that one. Now this Yudhishthira was very upset. But nobody dared to comment or open because the chakram was still there. So after everybody had gone, Narada Maharshi came. That is when Yudhishthira asked, Sir, Krishna is so friendly with us. But why is he acting like this with Shishupala? Why did Shuka Brahmam say this? He says this to Parikshit because a similar question was asked even by the eldest brother of your grandfather before. That is when Narada says, see, there are various ways of reaching Krishna. Gopyaha kamad bhayat kamsaha dvesha chaidyo dayo nripaha Sambandhat vrishnaya snehad yuyam bhaktya vayam vibho. Certain people go through love, sheer love, gopyaha kamaha. Bhayat kamsaha, just through fear, Kamsa attained the Lord. Dveshat chaidyaha, just through disgust, chaidyaha. Chaidyaha means Chedi Raja. Chaidyaha means Shishupala. Sambandhat vrishnayaha, vrishni is through sambandham, yuyam bhaktya vayam vibho, we through bhakti. Now after having told this, he says, I will tell you Nrisimha Avataram, who Narada tells Yudhishthira that he will tell Nrisimha Avataram. Now what is Shuka Brahmam telling Parikshit? Same question was asked by Yudhishthira to Narada, where Narada told Nrisimha Avataram, I am going to tell you that. Woodward's grape water. Now, we left in Varaha Avataram where Varaha killed Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha's dead body comes to the Sabha Mantapam of Hiranyakashipu. Immediately Hiranyaksha's wife and mother, Diti Devi and Rusha Bhanu, they start lamenting over the death of Hiranyaksha. The world has lost one of its greatest anti-social elements. What a loss it is to the world. That is when one person comes and he says, don't cry. Shariram is anityam. Body is perishable. Atma is nityam. Nitya atma avyayaha shuddhaha sarvagaha sarvavitparaha dhatte savatmano lingam mayaya visrujan gunan yesha atma viparyaso hyallinge linga bhavana yesha priya apriyair yogo viyogaha karma samsrutihi sambhavascha vinashascha shokascha vividhasmritaha avivekascha chintacha vivekasmrutirevacha. Knowledge is what is paramount. He says, who is this person? So beautiful. He has given Hiranyakashipu. There is something called Hiranyakashipu Gita. He has spoken these enlightening words. Sir, Hiranyakashipu, then why does he turn later? He is like us. See, whenever we listen to Nrisimha Avataram, we always feel we are all Prahlada. That is the problem. We are closer to Hiranyakashipu. Remember that. Prahlada's devotion, even an iota, we will not get. What confidence that boy had. When we are in good times, we are like Prahlada. When we are suffering, that is when slowly we start getting into Hiranyakashipu. Yenna kette yenna prayojanam. எப்போ இந்த சப்தாகம் கேட்டேனோ ஏஷவாத்மா விபர்யாசௌ ஹ்யல்லிங்கே லிங்க பாவனா. He convinces his sister-in-law and mother, don't cry. And then Hiranyakashipu tells one story. Hiranyakashipu is very good in Upanyasam. He tells, in a country called Ushinara, there was this king called Suyagnya. The Suyagnya died and his wife started crying. While his wife was lamenting over the death of her husband called Suyagnya, Yamadeva came in the form of a little boy. This little boy who was Yamadeva gave one story. Another story comes. Okay, it is like concentric circles. So this Yama, who is in the form of a little boy, tells, while on a sojourn to the forest, a hunter threw a net over a pack of birds, and with the sheer force with which he threw, one bird of a bird couple died. The other bird which was surviving started lamenting. As it was crying, feeling bad over the death of its counterpart, eventually the hunter killed this bird also. What does it say? Asks the boy. To which the boy himself says, see, one person dies. We all start feeling so bad. Correct? So tough. Without even realizing that we will also die. See, he has got the ticket 10 minutes back, railway ticket. We will get in a few more years. That's all. We are in the queue. You know, there is one beautiful portion in Sri Mahabharatam called as Yaksha Prashna. Yaksha asks 124 questions to Yudhishthira while the four brothers are lying dead. around the 117th or 124th question. Kimascharyam. Question is very simple. What is surprising? What is surprising? To which Yudhishthira says, see how beautifully Yudhishthira answers. He says, when one person dies, the other person who sees will condole in such a way as if he is permanent. Sho, poirka kudadu. Paavam eppadi poittar? Swami, aduthathu neer. You are in the list. So we condone death in such a way as if we are permanent. So while this bird was lamenting over the death of its counterpart, eventually that bird died, telling that death is inevitable. So this message was conveyed to the wife of Suyagnya by Yama, which was conveyed to Rishabhanu and Diti Devi by Hiranyakashipu, which was conveyed to Parikshit by Shukabrahma. You got 4 levels here. This is generally a test for us. Now, after having given all these, Hiranyakashipu Gita. Now Hiranyakashipu gets extremely angry over the death of his brother Hiranyaksha at the hands of Vishnu in the form of a boar. Now to avenge his death, he goes to fight with the Lord. Sir, just before he gave Hiranyakashipu Gita, right? That is why these 3 gunas, Krishna talks about this in the 18th chapter. Sattva, Rajo, Tamo Gunam. Whenever you have 3 and the number is 100, you will get a non-terminating decimal, 33.333. You cannot divide, then you'll have to forcefully make 33.33 as 33.34 and finish it off to 100. So it's a very difficult fraction. So the Sattva, Rajo, Tamo Gunam will never be in equilibrium. First half an hour of the discourse, everybody will be Makara kundalangal irashevi inanga Madi Moksham tanile muruval vilayada. 7:15. Krodhagnim jamadagni pidana bhavam santarpayishyan krama. This man won't finish it. See, in a kacheri, generally all musicians are well dressed. There will be a beautiful pink with a red border, rettapet, mountain border, nice necklace. They can see. At least you will have something here, white, stubble, not so lookable. So next half an hour, anger. Last half an hour, this man is incorrigible. He will keep on talking. So let me take rest. Shivu Nikita Rajasa Gunamichi Kamala Bhavu Nikita Masa Gunamusagi Shachi Dhavuniki Garvamu Neraga Jesina Baguga Shri Tyaga Raja Vinuta Ninnu Yemani Pogadudura. So now Hiranyakashipu, his Indrasyarthe Katam Daityan, his Tamasam and Rajasagunam increased and he went and had to perform tapas. Before he just left his house, Kayadhu, his wife, came and showed that strip. She said, I'm pregnant. He tweeted, congratulations at Kayadu_Danava. There is some, that is her tweeting handle. Now Hiranyakashipu went and he started performing tapas, Aghora tapas. He is now in Multan, remember the region, Pakistan. He has to go to Pamir mountains to impress upon Brahma. Now after immense austerities, very hard-working individual. Now Brahma landed there. Now he asks Brahma, I need the boon of immortality. I should never die. Brahma says, see, that could be a good boon to ask, but I can't grant because I am myself not immortal. If I am endowed with immortality, I can give you that immortality. I am myself, my position will change. Brahma is the name of a position. If a person performs 1000 Ashwamedha Yagams, that Brahma will be replaced. So So I am myself I'm in a private job. So anytime they can remove me. Now, how can I give you immortality? Ask your boon in a different way. That is when he asks in a different way. In engineering, there used to be a course while I studied called optimization. So constraints are given and he has to ask. Nantar bahir diva naktamanyasyaadapi chayudhaihi na bhumau nambare mrutyur na narair na mrigairapi vyasubhir vasubhir birva sura sura mahoragaihi apratidvandvatam yuddhe aikapatyam cha dehinam. I should neither die within my house, outside my house, neither in akasham, space, or bhumi. Neither should that be day or night. Neither should that be through the hands of a human or an animal. Neither should that be through a weapon which is inanimate, nor through any jantu which is animate. Brahma started sweating. What kind of boons is it? Is close to immortality. He has asked immortality in a different way. One person says, what do you want? I want Goduma halwa. Goduma halwa means wheat halwa. I want wheat halwa. I want Tirunelveli halwa. See, Tirunelveli halwa, you can ask means you can eat and you can also give. It is called alva kudukurdu. Okay, but this alva, you can ask. So that person says, don't take the name of Tirunelveli halwa. So how will I ask? That samba goduma is soaked in water for over 24 hours and then you grind it, you take the milk out of it and then caramelize the sugar and then add this to that and then allow it to go along with the description of Yogambal Sundar and Shanta Party and then keep on adding ghee. The level to which you have to add is you have to call the priest after consuming it. You should be able to see Vaikuntham as you eat it. Now, I'm not taking the word of Tirunelveli Alva, but I'm still describing it. Instead of asking immortality, he has asked all these boons. That is when Brahma said, do you have anything left, sir? Yadidasyasya bhimatan varan me varadottama bhutebhyas tadbhisrishtebhyo mrutyurma bhoon mama prabho. I should not be killed by anything or anyone that falls under the ambit of your creation. Brahma, thank God, relief, sigh of relief. Because he has been created by someone who doesn't essentially fall under the ambit of his creation. Shayanikum perumalin toppul kodi kamala toppul kodi mel brahman amarda padi. Shayanikum perumalin toppul kodi kamala toppul kodi mel brahman amarda padi. உலகத்தின் உயிர்களை படைத்தபடி படைப்பினை திருமால் காத்தபடி அண்டம் பகிரண்டம் அதை காக்கும் அவன் கோதண்டம் விண்ணையும் மண்ணுலகையும் அளக்கும் ஔவாமன பாதம் அருள் தரும் தேவா வரம் தரவாவா மூவுலகையும் ஆழ்கின்ற திருவிக்ரம ரூபா என் நெஞ்சில் பள்ளி கொண்டவன் ஸ்ரீரங்கநாயகன் சயனத்தை ஆதிசேஷன் மேலே திருவடி திருமகள் மடி மேலே பூலோக நாயகன் ஸ்ரீரங்கன். So the one who has created me doesn't fall under the ambit. Vedanta Deshika says, Padam bhojai sprishati bhajate ranganathasya jangam urudvandve vilagati shanair urdhvamabhyeti nabhim vakshasyaste valati bhujayor mamikeyam manisha vaktrabhikyam pibati vasate vasanam mauli bande. My mind, manasamme sujata, my mind goes on the beautiful form of Ranganatha of Srirangam. கடியவாகி புடைபரந்து மெளிர்ந்து செவ்வரியோடி நீண்டவ பெரியவாய கண்கள் எம்மை பேதமை செய்தனவே, says the mystic saint Tiruppanalvar. I've gone mad with those eyes that just begin in a thin shape, then expands further like the lotus of a newly blossomed lotus flower that receives the rays of the rising sun in the morning and then gets reddened towards its ends, which just exemplifies the karuna that he has. So, Bhagavad Ramanuja says, Gambhiramba samudbhuta sumrishtanala ravikara vikasita pundarikadala amala ayatekshanaha. You should describe the eyes of the Lord like this, it seems. Should not say beautiful eyes. Gambhiramba samudbhuta sumrishtanala ravikara vikasita pundarikadala amala ayatekshanaha. He is so handsome. He has created me. Why should I worry? And Brahma left. He said, granted. Now, in the meanwhile, what has happened there? As soon as Hiranyakashipu left his kingdom to go into intense austerities and his wife said, I am pregnant, she used to go to Kamala Selvaraj, first trimester. That time Indra comes and he kidnaps. Indra is known for all these things. No action will be taken. Many FIRs on him. Fully adept to be a politician. Full qualification. Now this Indra kidnaps Kayadhu. He places her in Airavatam, the celestial elephant, and takes her to Amaravati. Not Naidu's Amaravati. Different Amaravati. Now while he is taking her, Narada stops. He says, this doesn't look like your wife Shachi Devi. Who is this lady? This is Hiranyakashipu's missus. Why are you taking her? Sir, she's pregnant. So how does that bother you? That child! Hiranyakashipu said, that child, when it is born, will match his father's gunam. He will be as bad, as evil as his father. Narada says, no. A child can never be deemed or tabooed as evil. Largely depends on the child's brought up, the upbringing that determines the nature of the child, that company. Just because the father is like this, the son or the daughter don't have to be necessarily like the father. And Narada doesn't stop there. He says, see, your father was also very good. Indra doesn't get it. So he says, what should I do? You leave that lady to me. I will take good care of her. I will ensure that the child is a very good child. He takes Kayadhu to his ashramam. Kayadhu, when she wakes up. You know, in those days, in 1990s, they used to say, if you go in a train, don't take biscuits from anybody. So Kayadhu took those biscuits. That's why she became unconscious. Now she goes back and then she sees the ashramam. She understands there is no AC, no heater. What place is this? Then Narada Maharishi says, you are in my ashram, Kayadhu, for safety reasons. Don't worry, whatever you want, you ask. Whichever cuisine you want, you ask. Right from Jiror, Delhi, you will get everything. And so all this was asked, and every day after dinner, there used to be Upanyasam. Dangerous formula. After dinner, Narada Acharya used to give, Uve Narada Acharya Swami used to give Upanyasam. And he used to talk about the Lord's attributes as such, it is the general trait of Upanyasam that you will fall asleep. There is no harm. Please don't mistake me. If you fall asleep, please do. But fall asleep in this room. Come here and fall asleep. So she used to fall asleep, and Narada felt one day very, very disturbed. See, somebody is sleeping, only one member in the audience, and they are sleeping. Narada felt a lot humiliated. So he stopped. That is when a folklore states that the child, the fetus, was trying to indicate through certain sounds, continue. So that is when Munehe Veenapanehe, says Narayana Bhattadri. Munehe Veenapanehe. Because why does he call Bhattadri in Narayaniam says Munehe Veenapano? He doesn't say the word Narada, he says the one with Veena. Why? Because he is the one who performed Seemantam for her. In Seemantam you have to use Veena. Munehe Veenapanehe. So this lady is catered to by the inmates of the ashramam with so much love, selfless love. She feels so attached to the ashramam. There used to be Nama Sankirtan, Jnanananda Seva Sangam there, under the grace of Narada. So, members of the Satsangam, you have to join. Narayana Hari Narayana Hari Narayana Hari Narayana. 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 Narayana 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 Narayana. Narayana 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 Narayana. Narayana 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 Narayana. Narayana 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 Narayana. While this Nama Sankirtanam was happening, the child was born. So, the essence of Nama Sankirtanam, Nama Prabhavam was very much stitched and embroidered into the child. So this child was given the name Prahlada. He had other brothers. Harivamsham states there were other brothers. Hiranyakashipo putra panchaivesu mahabalaha. Vyasa says. Prahladaha purvajastesham anukladas tatoparaha samhladaschaiva hladascha kaniyamso bhabuvutuhu. Hlada, Prahlada. See, generally when many children are there, they'll give rhyming names. Suresh, Ramesh, Kottish, Satish. So these boys were there. Now, Hiranyakashipu comes. Finally, he comes to his mantapam. Wife is missing. What is this? Then he goes. Finally, he puts a search. It is found that her GPS location was showing Narada Ashramam. He goes to Narada Ashramam and she says what all happened. And she says from Indra's such evil deeds, Narada protected. Immediately, Hiranyakashipu conducted one ceremony, like an investiture ceremony, and gave one title to Narada with his signature. Narada can't even showcase this certificate. Yeah. So some name, even for us, if the board of our Upanyasam, some organization, Upanyasa Kesari, Upanyasa Upma. So, see, at one point in time, titles may not matter much. But those organizations, out of sheer love they give, we accept. We say we are very delighted, honored. Prepared speeches for this title, Upanyasa. Then we have to check what is the name that they're given. Then Upanyasa something. Thank you, sir. And along with that, they'll give one 6-foot Rama Pattabhishekam photo. I won't know where to keep. I say, I will tell, please give one house also. Because we don't have place for keeping these photos. Everybody wants to showcase through God. I generally, whichever lecture I go, I will tell whether the people like it or not. Don't accumulate too many photos. We are not a photo Sanatana Dharma Sampradaya. See, 100 years before, how did our ancestors have this ability to print so many photos, hang so many photos? Simply, there used to be Shalagramam. If you're a smarta, you may have Panchayatanam, some Paduka. That's all. Simple living we had. Now, everybody wants to give a photo. In Navaratri, you all put one Excel sheet. What to give? Everywhere there is the Lord's photo. Not required. Invitation has become one book these days. Marriage invitations. So many photos. You can't even discard them. Why? You're just giving information to the other person. This person is marrying this person. If you come, good. If you don't come, very good. You will save 2 leaves cost under Pattappa. So, spending should happen. I'm not saying people, when they rise in economic status, they should not spend. Ultimately, it's also economy that is being helped through marriages. But help in other ways. You don't have to trouble yourself. Your devotion is not directly proportional to the number of photos on the wall. Sir, 10 photos? So look at my power. Not required. In that bags where you give, don't print God photos. try avoiding all of this. I'm not saying this is wrong or this is criminal, it is an act that needs to be ridiculed. No. But there are diligent ways of spreading knowledge. Why all this? Calendar should show the date. That's all. Calendars have now become full of photos. What do we do after this year with that calendar? It will go atop the attic. 500 years later, they will excavate this land. And then they will say, calendar of 2023 was available. All this is not required. This is my thought. If you feel you can discard, you're free to discard. Now, Narada Maharshi got this title, the child was taken. The child was barely 20 days old. Barely 20 days. Generally, when a child is there, they'll start checking whether it looks like the mother or father. It has to look like one of them or both of them. There's no other chance. 20-year-old baby. Appa, 20 days. 20 days old baby. Then they will say, Appa, paru. Nodu, tande elidare nodu. It will look at somebody else. The father, if he is smart, he should go and stand in the place where the child is looking. Then 1.5, 2 years old. Tell what you know well. See, generally when we go to matams, like in Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam, we have Ahobala Matham, Andavanashramam. In Smartha Sampradayam also, I go to the matams because Acharyas call, Sannidhanam calls, Balapiriva calls. And then they'll say, if there is a crowd, they'll say, Unakku edu nanna theriyumo sollu. That is the problem. Nanna eduvume theriyadu. Sumaradhan theriyum idha. Unakku edu nanna theriyumo paaduna sumaradhan paadum. So this boy was asked, my dear Prahlad, bolo, tumhe kya pata hai? Jo bhi pata hai, tum bol. Then this boy said, Shasta Vishnuraseshasya Jagado yo hridi sthitaha Tameva paramatmanam Tata kena shasyate. I don't know much, my father, but I just know the one who commands you to speak and the one who commands me to speak, even without us understanding that he is commanding us, is the one who resides within you and me. Shasta Vishnuhu Aseshasya Jagadoyo Hridisthitaha Tameva Paramatmanam Tata Kakkena Shasyate. This is an important Vishnu Purana Vakyam, important shloka from Vishnu Puranam, quoted by all the three Acharyas, Shankara, Ramanuja, Madhva in their Bhashyas. Very important shloka. In the Vedantic perspective, he says there is one person who commands us from within, who controls us. That controlling process is called Vashat. So that is why the third name in Sahasranama is Vashatkaraha. The boy says, father says, you're watching too much of WhatsApp messages in Google. You are getting all this wrong information. I have to put you to some good coaching class. That is when he checks Shanda and Amarka were the sons of Shukracharya. They were running one crash course. So this king calls them and says, teach my son Prahlada good knowledge. They said, ready sir, course material is ready. No. Teach him that I am Paramatma. Sir, there is no course material. We have to plant it now. Okay, then they started preparing. There was an archana. Hiranyakashapave namaha. Loka dukkha karanaya namaha. Samudaya hitabhanjanaya namaha. So they prepared that material. The boy was taken. Now every day the class used to begin at 7 a.m. And the teachers used to be ready, students used to be ready. But one day at about 5 o'clock in the morning, Shanda and Amarka heard very good 93.4 FM. Where is this music coming from? Kashtadallirali Utkrishhtadallirali Eshtadaru Madikettirali Krishna Krishna Vembo Shishyaru Beduva Ashtakshara Mahamantrada Namava Narayana Ninna Namada Smaraneye Saramritavu Yenanaligege Barari Narayana. These acharyas got, where is this music come from? This is banned in our country. As they went closer, the students were listening to Prahlada's Upanyasam, 4-year-old boy. Confidently speaking about Narayana Nama Momiti Vyaharet Namaiti Paschat Narayanayet Uparishtat Vomityeka Aksharam Nama iti Dve Akshare Narayanayeti Pancha Aksharani. He's quoting Vedas. Atmaikyam, Devataikyam, Trika Samadhikata, Stulyataikyam Trayanam, Narayana Namam. He is giving Artham. What is Narayana Namam's Artham? 2. Naranam Ayanam Yasya Saha Narayanaha. Naranam, Naram means in Sanskritam, the Chetana and Achetana Padartham. This is very important. When I do Nrisimha Avataram at the end, you will require this knowledge. Do not think this is an entertainment session. Upanyasam is Vedanta Jnanam. You should be very serious. Chetanam and Achetana Padartham. I will explain what is Chetana and Achetana later. Chetana and Achetana, this conglomerate is indicated by the word Nara. Naranam Ayanam Yasya Saha. Naranam Ayanam Yasya Saha Naranam Ayana Padarthe. Ayanam means the substratum, the base. The one that supports Nara, Achetana and Chetana is called Narayana. But there is a grammatical rule in Panini's Vyakaranam. Purva Padatu Sanyayam Agaha. There are close to 4,500 aphorisms in Paniniya Vyakaranam in Sanskrit. You have to by heart all the 4,500 rules to understand Sanskrit grammar. One rule is Purva Padatu Sanyayam Agaha. When Nara plus Ayana Shabdam come together, if the first word has Ra and no Ga, and the second word has Na, the resultant word Na will become Na. That is the rule. Nara doesn't have Ga, it has Ra. Ayana has Na. So Nara plus Ayana is Narayana. That Nakaram. Na will become Na. Natve Vadhatvam used to say Apai Dikshita, because it's a very unique name, Narayana Namam. Because this word cannot be interpreted for the second time. That is the rule of Panini Vyakarana. Let's get back. One meaning I told, there is another meaning. That which floats on water is Narayana. Those of you who have gone to Kathmandu, we would have visited a temple. Jala Narayana or Neer Narayana. So anything that floats in water is called Narayana. See, in Sanatana Dharma, Ayurveda Shastram says, there are certain foods that are to be avoided if you want to keep your memory sharp. Can I tell 1 or 2 dishes? You venda sir. Can I? See, okay, now let's go to the recipe. Urad dal. You know urad dal? Ulundu. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ? ಉದ್ದಿನ ಬೇಳೆ. తెలుగులో ఏం చెప్తారండి? ఉద్దిపప్పు. తర్వాత మలయాళത്തിൽ എന്താണ്? உளுத்தம் பருப்பு. கொஞ்சம் இன்னும் அப்படி அழுத்தி உளுத்தம் பருப்பு. அவ்வளோதான் ஆயிடுது. Okay, we have covered. In Hindi it is urad dal. அவ்வளோதான். எல்லா இப்போ don't go language by language now. மராட்டி குஜராத்தினா urad dal che Gujarati. அவ்வளோதான் ஆயிடுது. Now, this urad dal has to be soaked, and it has to be generally, for those all men, women who are cooking will know, you have to grind urad dal very well to get a good consistency. Rice you can add that later. Now this has to be kept inside the refrigerator, and then you have to make vada out of it. Don't make it directly. Yogambal Sundar says. Okay, you have to keep it in the refrigerator. Next day you boil oil and then put. Now that vada will come. Then after that, you put that in buttermilk. Then after that, use hung curd. Little coconut, 1 or 2 green chilies, grind it, and then you add it to this, and then put some bundiyo. What is it called? If you eat Tair Vada, your memory will not be sharp. That is why I said. How do we know of that? Ayurveda Shastram says it will make you mandam. Mandam means you will become very lethargic. That is why in those days in Pathashala, before the Pariksha of Vedadhyanam, 1 month they will not serve urad dal. There was a great poet called Sri Harsha. Sri Harsha belonged to Kashmir. Harsha did not, I'm talking thousands of years back, he did not get job in Kashmir. So he came to Varanasyam, Kashi. There also people did not accept him immediately. He was a great scholar, but he did not get job. So he went and sat by the banks of river Ganga and he started meditating. That is when two women who had come there were fighting over some petty issue. They were speaking in their local language, Avadhi. It is called, in eastern Uttar Pradesh, it is called Avadhi. Western Uttar Pradesh, it is, Tamil Avadhi means different. So, Western Uttar Pradesh, it is called Braj Bhasha. Then there is one language in the upper part of Madhya Pradesh, it's called Bhojpuri. Then there is one language in the upper part of Bihar, which is called Maithili. And then there is an ancient language called Prakrit. All of these put together, it is called Yericheri. Came a new language called Hindi. Hindi is a conglomerate of all these languages. Now these two women were fighting in Avadhi, local language. This Harsha knew only Sanskritam, strictly Sanskritam. He did not know what they were fighting, why they were fighting, which language, nothing. Now this became a big issue. The police, CRPF and all came to sort out this issue between these two women. And they were taken to the court of the local king. In those days, justice was quick. So they will take it to the king's court. The king said, please tell me first what happened. This lady gives one version, the other lady gives one version. Immediately the king says, I need one person who is an eyewitness to it. Nobody was to be seen except Harsha. Harsha was brought to the court. Harsha spoke to the king in Sanskritam and said, see, I know only Sanskritam. These women were fighting in some local language. I don't know that local language. Then the king left hope. He said, no, then who is going to tell me? But Harsha said, I can exactly repeat what they spoke. I don't know what they spoke, but I've grasped it like how a sponge does of water, and I can just tell you what they fought. And he narrates, and the women were surprised. He is better than us in Avadhi. See, those of you who speak Tamil will realize in Tamil news channels, if you listen, at times I feel I've forgotten Tamil. Kettukollungal. Sollungal. La nak. So, here, the king was surprised, and then he recruited Harsha into his court as a major kavi. Every month he used to be given some salary, good perks, all facilities. But this Harsha was very good in Sanskritam, but in tough Sanskritam. Sir, Sanskritam itself is tough. You're talking tough Sanskritam. This advanced maths, Mari. So his verses were so tough that even the king needed a commentator to understand the nuances. So he said, Harsha, you take 1 month break, sabbatical. You go, you take some rest. You give some peace to your mind, then you will start writing simpler poems. Harsha went. 1 month later, the king could not live without Harsha. He said, send the soldiers and ask them to summon Harsha. I want to be with Harsha. Harsha was searched. Finally, he was found under the shade of a stationary bullock cart. And he was chewing something. Immediately, these soldiers asked, what are you eating? Ashesha shemushi musha masha shisheve. I am consuming the vada which is being fried in the oil made from the urad dal that was soaked in the waters the previous week. Ashesha shemushi musha masha shisheve. Even that he said in a complicated manner. What Harsha did was, by eating urad dal at least will my level of poetry come down. Even then it didn't change. Kannadalli heltare naai balu donku. Alve. So, now, correct. Now after this, why I told you this was, this boy was giving all these lessons to these other students in such a nice fashion. Narayanam Ayanam. Why I said was, Narayana means that which is floating in water. And my grandmother used to make tair vada, which is dahi bada. and then she used to soak that in buttermilk, and then it used to float, and then you'll have to add curd. My grandfather used to say, this is Narayana. Because as per the definition, it floats in water. So this Narayana Namartham was explained by Prahlada to the other students. Now the students felt very happy. They felt, he is a better teacher. See, while I used to be in Pilani, any Pilani students here? So, in Pilani we used to have great professors. They used to come in the morning. The more they have studied, the level of their explaining ability would come down. No more qualifications, they won't be able to explain. But we used to have some teaching assistants who were just ME students. They used to come and teach. They used to teach very well. So Prahlada did a very good job to these students. These students said, sir, this Chanda and Amarka are waste. Now this boy started teaching the essence of Narayana Namam. All this was getting recorded in the CCTV camera. Now Hiranyakashipu will fire Shanda and Amarka. So Shanda and Amarka said, it is better we go and give back this boy to the father. They went and said, Hiranyakashipu, you take your son back. He doesn't seem to be learning from our syllabus. He is creating his own syllabus. So you have. Then the father asked, he was a very good father. He asked, see, I've paid so much of fees. You first tell me what you have learnt in these days. Shravanam kirtanam vishnoho smaranam padasevanam archanam vandanam dasyam sakhyam atmanivedanam iti pumsar pitar vishnor bhaktische navalakshana. My dear father, all I have learned during this period was there are 9 ways of propitiating Paramatma. Shravanam, passionate listening. See, listening is the foremost way that you can garner quintessential knowledge in Sanatana Dharma. Listen, 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 listen. You have to keep listening. While you are driving, you should listen. Gym, listen. Sleep, listen. You have to keep listening. Shravanam. Second is Kirtanam. What you have heard, you should tell at least 5 or 10 points to the other person. See, when you go home, ideally, when you have time, type those 5 points, your takeaways today, and send it to someone. Whether they read it or not is their karma. But you have to send. Shravanam, Kirtanam. Next, you have to remember. That is the main problem. Vishnoho Smaranam. Pada Sevanam. Pada Sevanam literally doesn't mean to do puja. You have to do puja to certain acharyas, but learn how to respect people. Simple. Pada Sevanam. Archanam. Why do we do Archana? Why do we do Archana? Because Archana is a good name. No. Archana means you are propitiating the Lord through his or her unique characteristics, which we can't do otherwise with our limited knowledge. Nanda Nandana Raja Yai Namaha Nagapattina Raja Yai Namaha Saundarya Raja Yai Namaha Lavanya Raja Yai Namaha Sundara Raja Yai Namaha Ranga Raja Yai Namaha. Priests should also do that Archana genuinely, and we should also listen. Just paying $5 and getting slip, no value. If we don't know the meaning, we are not listening to the Archana, why are we doing? Is this some commercial transaction? Archanam, Vandanam, put your palms together. WhatsApp has taught this in the last 4 years. Have you seen this emoticon? Thanks, if you put, that will come. Kshipram Deva Prasadini, Parama Shri Vaishnava WhatsApp. Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam. Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam. To think that you're subservient to the Lord. No, we are independent. This is 21st century. What is this man blabbering? We are dependent on Mother Nature. We are not independent. We need air to breathe. Everything we are dependent. I don't know what is the big ego issue in telling that we are subservient. No, you're going to the times of the apartheid. I am dependent on Mother Nature. Dasyam, Sakhyam. Treat the Lord as your friend. Atmanivedanam. Submit yourself. This is what I learnt my father. Had it been the father of 21st century, he would have recorded, posted it on WhatsApp. Fantabulous, wonderful, bless you, Kanna. All this we would have got. But here, the father pushes him down the ground. He says, Sashulairaviddha subahumethito diggajaganaihi mahasarpairdaštopyanashanagaraha vidutaha girindravakshiptapyapaha paramatmannai vibho tvayi nyastyatmatvat kimatina nipidama bhajata. He tortured the boy, 4-year-old boy. But look at the resolve of this boy. Had I been in that boy's position, okay, what do you want me to tell? Hiranyakashapave namaha. Happy, I would have left. But this boy had this resolve. Why should I tell? He continued. He was so fixed in his notion because it came from Garbhakalam. See, some knowledge that comes from your childhood will stay. If it comes in the middle, it will go. So this boy said, do whatever you want. He was smiling. He was put into the test where the trident would come and pierce him, but it will bend. Then he was pushed from the top of the cliff. He will fall, not a single scratch. He will come back home. Then he was put to the trampling of the ferocious elephants. As the elephants would come running towards the boy to crush him, the boy would say, you may crush, dear elephant, but remember, your grandfather's father, who was Gajendra, while he cried for help, the Lord came and protected Gajendra. That forefather of yours, who was protected by the Lord, that Lord stays within my heart. If you press me, then you are being ungrateful to your forefathers. So the elephant would put a reverse gear and it would go back. Everything possible this man did to torture that child. Finally, there came a day. Then the father asked, see, somebody is protecting you. You quietly tell me who is that person. I won't tell you to anybody. The boy said, come here, father. The one who is protecting you is protecting me. This Hiranyakashipu thought, this boy is incorrigible, irreversible and irreparable. He doesn't seem to get the enmity and the vairi that I have towards that Vishnu, and he keeps uttering that atrocious name time and again. Where is he? Shanilumulan Shadakuru itta konilumulan ni sollum sollilumulan. He is even found permeating in that last particle which we deem as indivisible, and he is larger than the largest. Anor Aniyan Mahato Mahiyan. And you are asking me, where is that Hari? He has pervaded in that first syllable. Where is Hari? Ni sollum sollilumulan. And you're asking me where he is. Sarvatra asti sada asti. Is he there in this pillar? Why is Hiranyakashipu particular? Because he has seen proper concrete being used to construct that pillar. Nobody could have gone inside it. The boy says he lives everywhere. That is when Shastram says, Acharyas say, the Lord who was always pervasive everywhere actually realized that he is pervasive only after he heard from this boy. He started pervading every bit around in that Raja Bhavanam. That is when in Srimad Narayaniyam, while composing, Bhattadri was a bit confused. Could this have happened where the boy had the resolve to speak so confidently, so clearly, with utmost clarity and sheer brilliance before the tyrant king? While Bhattadri was wondering and opened his eyes, to his amazement, he found that the entire sanctum sanctorum of Guruvayur had vanished. And he was amidst that Raja Bhavanam of Hiranyakashipu with a gem-studded throne atop, where the king came running with his mushti, and then he hit on that pillar. Are kvasau sakala jagadatma haririti prabhintisme stambham chalita karavalo diti sutaha ataf paschad vishno nahi vaditum ishosmi sahasa kripatman vishwatman pavanapuravasin mridayamam. As He struck the pillar that broke open like a dicotyledon. Stambhe ghattayato hiranyakashipo karnau samachurnayan aghurna jagadanda kunda kuharo ghorastava bhudravaha Shrutva yamkila daityaraja hridaye purvakadapya shrutam kampa kaschana sampapata daitosma amboja bhuvishtarat bhukhandam varanandam paravara viratam dambadamporu dampam dim 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 didimbam dahamapi dahamai jhampa jhampaischa jhampaihi tulyastu tulya dhuma dhuma dhumakai kunkumankai kumankaihi Etatte purna yuktam ahara karaha happatumam Nrisimha Shankam chakram chachapam parashuma shamishum Shulapa shanku shastram Vajram khetam khala musalagada kantamatyugradamstram Jwala kesham trinetram hara musalagadam Harakeyura bhusham Vande pratyeka rupam parapada nivasa patumam Nrisimha Nasagram Pinagandam Parabala Mathanam Baddakeyuraharam Raudram Damshrakaralam Mamita Gunaganam Koti Suryagninetram Gambhiryam Pingalaksham Brukudita Vimukam Shodashad Ardhabahum Vande Bhimattahasam Tribhuvana Vijaya Patumam Nrisimha Jam 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 Jakaram Jasha Jasha Jashitam Janudesham Jam Jakaram Hum 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 Hukaram Harita kahasa yam dishe vambakaram vam 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 bakaram vadana dalitatam vama paksham supaksham lam 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 lakaram laguvana vijaya patumam Nrisimha mimam samanasya samuttito grato Nrisimha rupastadalam bhayanakam pradapta chamikara chandalochanam spuratkata kesara jhurmpitananam Karala damshram karavada chanchala spuranti jikvam brukudi mukolbanam Sabdhodvakaranam girikandharadbhuta vyatattanasam hanubheda bhishanam says Shukabrahmam and Bhattadri. How did the Lord come? There's a vivid description. It speaks about the head of a lion. Harim mukham kanthiravaha akanthamadi purusham kanthiravam uparikunthitaratim. And below that was the shariram of Adi Purusha, Purana Purusha. The eyes looked as if 1,000 suns were smelted together. The tongue that was wavering out of the Lord's mouth looked as if a soldier would come to the battlefield and then would put the sword up high in the air and would wait for his opponents to come flying towards him. The air that was going in and gushing out of the nostrils looked as if the hot air would move during the summers inside a cave and would come out. His ears were erect. His nails looked as if the Vajrayudhams had transitioned and transformed into the nails of Nrisimha. And there came Nrisimha, Vande Bhimattahasam Tribhuvana Vijaya Patumam Nrisimha. The celestials and Brahma were in a fix because they were trying to understand how would the Lord be able to optimize the boons given by Brahma, yet proving that he is there to protect his devotee. Satyam vidhatum nijabhritya bhashitam. That is why he came in a medley of that of being an animal and Nara, Simha, Nrisimha. He came at a time which is a Sandhya Kalam, in many places presumed as even Pradosham, which is neither day nor night. He dragged Hiranyakashipu and placed him on a slab, which essentially doesn't mean space nor earth. He sat on the doorstep, which is technically neither counted within the Mahalam or outside the Mahalam. And that is when he used his nails as Ayudham. Why? Because nails, except the cuticle portion, the remaining portion is a concoction or a grouping of dead cells. Though it is dead cells, if you still keep cutting, it grows, proving that there is life in it. Since they are dead cells, they are still inanimate in nature. Since they neither fall into inanimate or the animate category, he used the nails. Andiyam podil arivuruvagi ariyai alittavanai pandanai thira palland pallayirattandenmine. In Tamil, Andal's father Vishnu Chitta, while he blesses the Lord, he says, I bless Nrisimha extremely well. How can you bless the Lord? He treats the Lord as his very own child. He says Nrisimha is a child because he has just now emerged from the pillar. He's a newborn child. To a newborn child, in the first 10-20 days, they may develop a skin allergy. In Tamil, earlier it used to be called pandanai. So the Alvar wishes that my dear child Nrisimha, who has just emerged out of the pillar, he's soaking his hands into the foreign body of Hiranyakashipu and shouldn't develop this particular skin problem. So he says, I bless that my son doesn't get pandanai. Pandanai teera pallandu pallayirattandu paadudume. And he tears him open. So, Satyam Vidhatum Nijabhritya Bhashitam, the one who exemplifies and makes the words of a true devotee, a devotee true, is called Satyam Vidhatum Nijabhritya Bhashitam. Now, the beauty is, he killed Hiranyakashipu. I don't have to get into the details of how he killed. All that is a thriller movie description. Now he killed. Now to cool down this person was very tough. That is when Devas requested Prahlada, you go. You say something, he will listen. Prahlada goes, and as Prahlada goes, fearlessly this boy goes. Look at this boy. Fearlessly he goes near Nrisimha, and Nrisimha pampers him, motivates him. Came a question 1,000 years back in one of the commentaries. How did Prahlada not have the fear? To which the commentator says, the cub will never fear its father, which is the lion. He was a cub. Saroja sadrisha drisha vyatibhishajyate vyajyate. To us it may seem as if the lion is showing its ferocious eyes towards the child. But Vedanta Deshika says, Saroja sadrisha drisha. To the boy, he looked at the eyes of the Lord and found lotuses within it. Saroja sadrisha drisha vyatibhishajyate vyajyate. The mother doesn't have to feed the crying child. Even if she comes near the child will stop crying. Because her looks are alone enough to give sufficient nutrition. Of course she has to feed, but her looks give so much of nutrition to the crying child. Saroja sadrisha drisha vyatibhishajyate vyajyate. Vedanta Deshika says, Tvai rakshati rakshakaihi kimanyaihi. Tvaicha arakshati rakshakaihi kimanyaihi. If you are there to protect me in Nrisimha, I don't have to go to others. If you have resolved not to protect me, there is no purpose, use of going to others. If you have decided to protect me, I don't have to depend on others. If you have decided to not protect me based on my karma, then there is no use in propitiating others. Anyways, they can't come and protect me. Tvai rakshati rakshakaihi kimanyaihi. Tvaicha arakshati rakshakaihi kimanyaihi, says Vedanta Deshika. Now, later Mahalakshmi comes. She says, what? You are such a soft person. Why have you turned like this? People will fear you. Later you are the one who's going to play the flute. The same boy who's playing the flute and dancing with the girls in the middle of the night is suddenly tearing open someone. People will think you have to go for a therapy. There is some problem. I will pacify, cool down. So Mahalakshmi comes and sits on his lap and cools him down. See, you have to be very, very genuinely very good. Bring your anger down. But though Mahalakshmi comes and cools him down, technically there is no composition that celebrates Mahalakshmi, who's the wife of Nrisimha. Pahi pahi amrutavalli kripakare vatsale ghatikadrisha priyakari padala ranjani deshika pujita kamale shankara pujita vasundhare Subhashini sumadhura bhashini mandahasini manasolasini aho bilahari priyakari aho bilahari priyakari aho bilahari priyakari aho bilahari priyakari Kari priyakari, hari priyakari, bilahari priyakari, aho bilahari priyakari, aho bilahari priyakari, kamalasana pitha sthite, narayana dasa hrudaya sthite pahi. This is my composition in Sanskritam. Hari in Sanskritam has 4 meanings. One is Indra. One is Narayana, one is monkey, one is lion. Aho Bila Hari Priyakari. Bila Hari Priyakari is the name of the Ragam. Aho Bila is the name of the Kshetram. The one who loves the is loved by the lion of Ahobila. Ahobila Haripriyakari. Aho Bila Haripriyakari. Then Aho becomes a Sambodhanam. In Sanskritam, you have got Vibhaktis, you have got Sambodhana Vibhakti. Now, as soon as he is pacified, the Lord is asking Prahlada, Prahlada, what boons do you want? Then Prahlada says, see, my father, I don't know, out of sheer ignorance, he hurt me. It is not wantedly he hurt me. Sheer ignorance. My Lord, if you have to give me a boon, please forgive what my father has done. Don't have any vengeance towards him. He's dead. Maranantani Vairani. So please forgive my father. The Lord said, okay, granted. Now you ask another boon, Prahlada. Ask something for yourself. You're asking for your dead father. Ask for yourself. The Lord gave another chance. Prahlada said, see, today, I don't know, out of sheer Purva Janma Punyam, you have appeared in front of me and you are telling me, ask one boon. And even without a second thought, shamelessly, I asked for a boon previously, forgive my father. And out of sheer benevolence, you are again telling me, ask another boon. If at all you have to grant me a boon, grant me this. In the future, either in this Janma or future Janmas, if at all you appear before me again, and you again say, Prahlada, what boon do you want? I should have the mentality and ability to say, when you are there in my presence, I don't need any boon. Give me that as a boon now. So that is when the Lord said, see, generally people will keep my name to their children. From today onwards, I will be known by my Bhakta's name. I will be called Prahlada Varada. I will be called by my devotee's name. That is why Saint Tyagaraja, when he lists down the great people whom we should keep thinking, Parama Bhagavatam Varashashi Vibhakara Sanaka Sanandano Dhigisha Surakim Purusha Kanakakashipu Sutta. Kanakakashipu Sutta, son of Kanakakashipu, Hiranyakashipu, Prahlada. Kanakakashipu Sutta Narada Tumburu Pavana Sunu Bala Chandra Dhara Shuka Saroja Bhava Bhusura Varulu Parama Pavanulu Ghanulu Shashvatulu Kamala Bhava Sukhamusada Nubhava Mugayenda Romahanu Bhavulu. That is when in Nrisimha Tapini Upanishad, Shiva declares the mantra for Nrisimha, Ugram Veeram Mahavishnum Jvalantam Sarvato Mukham Nrisimham Bhishanam Bhadram Mrityur Mrityur Namamyaham. And this commentary for this is by Shankara's Avataram. Adi Shankara has given Nrisimha Tapiniya Upanishad, it is called. He has got 3 eyes. Nrisimha has many, many attributes. That is why Rudram is recited for Nrisimha as well. So that Nrisimha has protected Prahlada. And then that Prahlada tells us, you have main portions to cover tomorrow. Tripura Samharam, Gajendra Moksham, Matsyavataram, Kurmavataram, Vamanavataram. After these 5, I have to do Krishna Jananam. Krishna has to be born tomorrow evening. And after that, it is all pleasure. With Krishna, it is full. After that, we'll get into the proper Bhagavatam, what all he did. So tomorrow, I wish all of you bring more people in. It is a free event out of the sheer grace of Jnanananda Seva Samajam and Sacramento Mahapariva Mandali who are jointly doing it. Please come tomorrow. Bring more people. You can say this man is porkable. So for 2 hours you can put 5 with this man and bring them on as told till Friday. It is this timing. Saturday, Sunday it is in the morning. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha. Tennangur Nitya Annadanam is happening. For that they are raising funds. This is a free event. I'm sure all of you would have made contributions to them. Please get in touch with the volunteers. What best you can do as contributions to the Annadanam scheme and be a part of this entire journey of Srimad Bhagavatam. Kalyana Rupaya Kalau Jananam Kalyana Dhatre Karuna Sudhapte Kamvadi Divya Yudha Satkaraya పాతాళయాధీశ నమో నమస్తే. నారాయణ 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 నారాయణ. నమస్కారం.